A mild chest discomfort, barely noticeable, yet powerful enough to take your life in minutes. Over 70% of people over 65 have ignored this warning sign only to regret it when it's too late. You see, not every heart attack announces itself with drama. In older adults, it often arrives quietly: a slight pressure when you climb the stairs, a tightness after dinner, a fleeting ache while you're walking. Easy to dismiss, easy to miss. As a doctor, I cannot tell you how many times I've heard patients say, "I thought it was just gas or old age." But behind that innocent excuse, something far more dangerous could be brewing. The truth is, after 65, your heart doesn't give you loud alarms, it whispers. But if you know what to listen for, you can act and save your life. In today's video, I'll show you how to recognize the most dangerous type of chest pain in seniors. I'll explain why it's so deceptive, why time is critical, and what immediate steps you must take if it happens to you or your loved one. This is not a scare tactic, it's life-saving knowledge. And it could be the reason you stay alive and well for years to come. If you care about your health, please like this video, subscribe to Doctor for Seniors, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your experience might help save someone else. Because remember, your health is your greatest wealth. Number 1, why chest pain after 65 is never just age. Let's be honest. Growing older comes with its share of aches and pains. A little stiffness here, some soreness there. Most of us brush it off. But when it comes to your heart, that mindset can be deadly. After the age of 65, your heart is no longer the same as it was at 40, or even 50. The blood vessels feeding your heart, called coronary arteries, have been through decades of wear and tear. Years of tiny injuries, from cholesterol, high blood pressure, even blood sugar swings, all leave microscopic scars. Over time, these scars attract fatty deposits, slowly building into plaques. This is what we call atherosclerosis. But here's the dangerous part: these plaques don't announce themselves. They grow silently. They narrow your arteries little by little, cutting off precious oxygen supply to your heart muscle. You might not notice a thing until your heart starts to struggle. As these vessels narrow, blood flow drops. The heart has to work harder to get the same job done. Imagine trying to drink a thick milkshake through a thin cocktail straw. That's what your heart feels every time you take a brisk walk or climb stairs. Yet the body is incredibly good at compensating. So good, in fact, that many people don't feel the classic elephant sitting on the chest pain we see in textbooks. Instead, they experience vague symptoms: a mild pressure, a sense of fullness, maybe a little breathlessness. Now let me tell you why this is a trap. In older adults, these subtle signs are often mistaken for everyday discomforts. A tightness in the chest must be heartburn, a dull ache after dinner, probably indigestion, a little soreness when gardening, maybe I just pulled a muscle. I've had patients swear it was just gas or a muscle knot, until it wasn't. The reason is simple: as we age, pain perception changes. Nerve sensitivity dulls. What might have felt like sharp pain at 40 becomes a muted discomfort at 70. The heart is still crying for help, but the alarm bell rings softer. Let me share a story that illustrates this perfectly. Her name was Margaret, 72 years old, active, independent, still driving herself to church every Sunday. One afternoon, while grocery shopping, she noticed a strange sensation in her chest. Not pain exactly, more like someone pressing their thumb gently against her breastbone. It wasn't severe, just annoying. She assumed it was indigestion. After all, she'd just had a heavy lunch. Maybe the pasta sauce was too acidic, she thought. She finished her shopping, drove home, and sat down to rest. But the discomfort didn't fade. It hovered. Then it started radiating: a dull ache up her neck, a tingle down her left arm. Still no crushing pain, no dramatic collapse. Margaret hesitated. Should she call someone, or was she overreacting? Fortunately, her daughter called to check in. Hearing the description, she insisted Margaret go to the ER immediately. What doctors found was chilling. Margaret was in the middle of a silent heart attack. Her EKG lit up with signs of ischemia. One of her coronary arteries was 90% blocked. Had she waited much longer, the outcome could have been fatal. Margaret survived because she acted, barely. Her story is not rare. In fact, research from the American Heart Association shows that nearly half of older adults experience atypical symptoms during a heart attack. No crushing chest pain. Sometimes no chest pain at all, just fatigue, lightheadedness, or a vague nagging discomfort that's easy to dismiss. That's why after 65, chest pain, no matter how minor, demands respect. Every odd sensation deserves attention. Because the older heart whispers its warnings, and if you're not listening, you might never hear them again. So the next time you feel something off, that strange tightness, that unusual pressure, don't assume it's just age. Don't tell yourself it's nothing. Your heart might be giving you the only chance it can. Stay with me. In the next part, I'll reveal how to recognize the specific type of chest pain that signals a heart attack is near and why ignoring it can be fatal. Number 2, the deadly chest pain, stable versus unstable angina. Most people think a heart attack comes out of nowhere, sudden, dramatic, and impossible to miss. But for many older adults, the warning signs begin long before that final devastating moment, and it all starts with something called angina. Angina is not a disease itself, it's a symptom, a signal that your heart muscle isn't getting enough oxygen-rich blood. Think of it as your heart's way of pleading for help. But here's the tricky part. There are 2 very different kinds of angina, and understanding the difference can save your life. The first is called stable angina. It's predictable. It follows a pattern. You exert yourself, maybe you're climbing stairs, carrying groceries, or walking briskly, and suddenly you feel a pressure in your chest. It might feel like a weight is squeezing, or just a tight discomfort. But when you stop and rest, the pain fades. It's your heart saying, I'm struggling, but I can keep up for now. Stable angina is serious, yes, but manageable. It gives you time to act, to make changes, to get treated before disaster strikes. But unstable angina is a different story. This is the one you cannot afford to ignore. Unlike stable angina, it doesn't follow a pattern. It shows up uninvited without warning. You could be sitting comfortably watching TV or even sleeping when a crushing pain grips your chest. This pain is often more intense, more persistent, and it refuses to back down no matter how long you rest. Unstable angina means a plaque in your coronary artery has ruptured, triggering a dangerous blood clot. Blood flow becomes critically reduced or even blocked, putting you on the brink of a heart attack. It's not just a warning sign anymore. It's a red alarm. To make matters worse, unstable angina often brings along unwelcome company. You may find yourself gasping for breath even while sitting still. Cold, clammy sweat can start dripping down your face. Nausea might hit you like a wave. You may feel overwhelmingly tired, as if every ounce of energy is draining away. This is your body's way of telling you loudly and urgently that something is very, very wrong. Let me share a story of a patient named George. George was 70 years old, a retired firefighter. He was tough, the kind of man who prided himself on pushing through pain. For years, he'd felt a bit of chest tightness whenever he did yard work, but it always went away when he rested. Stable angina, plain and simple. He knew the drill. But one evening, as he was reading in his armchair, George felt something different. The pressure came on stronger than before, a heavy squeezing sensation that wouldn't let up. He stood up, took deep breaths, even tried lying down. Nothing helped. Then came the cold sweat. His wife noticed his face had turned pale, his shirt soaked. When he started to feel nauseous and weak, she didn't wait. She called 911. At the hospital, doctors confirmed it was unstable angina. A fresh clot had formed, nearly blocking a major artery. George was on the verge of a heart attack. Thanks to his wife's quick action, they were able to intervene in time, but just a few more minutes of waiting to see if it gets better could have cost him his life. George's story isn't rare. In fact, according to the American College of Cardiology, unstable angina accounts for a significant percentage of emergency cardiac cases in older adults. And yet so many people mistake it for heartburn, anxiety, or simple fatigue. The cruel truth is this: your heart doesn't always scream for help. Sometimes it whispers. And by the time the pain becomes undeniable, you're already in dangerous territory. So remember, chest pain that comes on with activity and goes away, with rest, might be stable angina, still serious, but with time to address it. But chest pain that strikes suddenly, unpredictably, and refuses to ease, especially when it's accompanied by shortness of breath, cold sweat, nausea, or overwhelming fatigue, that is a medical emergency. Do not wait. Do not see if it passes. Call for help immediately, because in that moment, every minute counts. In the next part, I'll show you the 5 key warning signs that can help you quickly tell the difference between ordinary chest discomfort and a heart attack in progress. These signs are subtle, but once you know them, you'll never second-guess your heart again. Number 3, 5 golden signs to tell ordinary chest pain from dangerous chest pain. Let's get to the heart of the matter. Chest pain can be a tricky thing. Not every twinge, ache, or tightness means you're having a heart attack. But the real danger is when people assume every chest pain is harmless until the moment it's not. So how do you tell the difference between a simple muscle strain and a life-threatening heart attack? There are 5 golden signs your body gives you. These are not guesses or theories. They're based on decades of medical research and countless lives saved or lost by paying attention. First, imagine this. You feel a sudden pressure in the center of your chest. Not a sharp stab, but a heavy squeezing sensation, like someone placed a concrete block right on your sternum. That's the first red flag. Heart-related chest pain often feels like something is pressing, squeezing, or even suffocating the middle of your chest. It's not a fleeting sting. It's a deep, crushing discomfort that builds, refusing to go away. Second, this pain doesn't like to stay in one place. It spreads. You might feel it radiating to your left shoulder, creeping down your arm, even reaching your jaw or back. This radiation happens because the nerves supplying the heart also affect these areas. If your pain starts moving beyond the chest, that's a big warning sign. Muscle aches don't travel. Heart attacks do. Third, timing matters. Most people expect chest pain after physical effort. But if you're sitting quietly watching TV, reading a book, or even resting in bed, and suddenly this pain appears out of nowhere, that's a serious concern. Chest discomfort that shows up during rest without any clear trigger should never be ignored. The heart is struggling even without added demand. That's dangerous. Fourth, listen to how you feel emotionally. It might surprise you, but many people report a sudden wave of anxiety, dread, or an unexplained sense of doom right before or during a heart attack. You might feel your heart pounding your chest, fluttering, even though nothing stressful is happening around you. This is your body's emergency alarm. It's not just nerves. It's your brain sensing something is terribly wrong inside. And fifth, time is critical. If this chest pain, along with these other signs, lasts more than 10 minutes and doesn't ease up, even when you sit down, rest, or take deep breaths, it's time to call for help. Don't wait it out. Don't hope it passes. Every minute lost is heart muscle lost. And once it's gone for good. Now let me bring this to life with a story you won't forget. Her name was Susan, a 66-year-old retired teacher. One evening while folding laundry, she felt a strange tightness in her chest. Not unbearable, but nagging. She thought it was because she'd lifted a heavy basket earlier, so she sat down expecting it to fade. But the discomfort didn't leave. In fact, it grew worse. She felt it pushing against her chest as if someone were pressing down, slow but steady. Then a dull ache crept into her left shoulder, snaking its way down her arm. Her instinct told her something was off, but she hesitated. Could it just be indigestion? Maybe stress? Then came the cold sweat, tiny beads forming on her forehead. She wasn't hot, she wasn't moving, yet her body was acting as if she'd run a marathon. And then out of nowhere, her heart started racing. Palpitations, a sense of overwhelming anxiety, as if a dark cloud had settled over her. Still, she debated with herself. Was she overreacting? Should she wait it out? Thankfully, her husband noticed her pale face and the way she was clutching her arm. He didn't hesitate. He called 911. At the hospital, tests confirmed what her body had been screaming. Susan was in the early stages of a heart attack. The swift action saved her life. Doctors later told her that if she had waited even 20 more minutes, the damage could have been irreversible or fatal. Susan's story is all too common. People don't want to cause a fuss. They don't want to overreact. But when it comes to chest pain, the real mistake is inaction. According to the American Heart Association, over 1/3 of older adults delay seeking help when experiencing heart attack symptoms because they think it's probably nothing serious. This delay costs lives. So here's my advice to you. If you ever feel a heavy squeezing pain in the middle of your chest, if it spreads to your arm, jaw, or back, if it hits while you're at rest, if your heart races with unexplained anxiety, and if it lingers beyond 10 minutes without easing up, don't gamble with your life. Call for help immediately. In the next part, I'll show you what to do step by step if you suspect you're having a heart attack, and how your actions in those first few minutes can be the reason you walk out of the hospital alive. Number 4, what to do immediately when you suspect chest pain. Now let's talk about the most important part. What you must do the very moment chest pain strikes and your instincts tell you something isn't right. Here's the first and hardest truth you cannot afford to guess. You cannot afford to wait. Time lost is heart muscle lost. Every minute you hesitate, damage is being done inside your chest that might never be repaired. The biggest mistake people make is trying to tough it out. They tell themselves it's probably nothing. Maybe gas, maybe stress. They reach for a glass of water. They massage their chest. Some even take painkillers thinking it will pass. But here's the brutal reality: you cannot massage away a blocked artery. You cannot wish away a heart attack. And painkillers will only hide the pain while the damage continues silently. When you experience chest pain with those warning signs we've talked about, that crushing pressure, the pain spreading to your arm or jaw, the cold sweat, the shortness of breath, your very first action should be simple and clear. Call emergency services. Dial 911. Don't ask Google. Don't wait for a family member to come home. Don't try to drive yourself. It sounds obvious, right? But you'd be surprised. Studies show that up to 50% of heart attack patients delay calling for help, often waiting an hour or more before seeking medical attention. For older adults, this delay is even more common. Pride, fear of embarrassment, not wanting to be a bother, but none of that matters when your life is on the line. Let me give you a real story that still haunts me. Frank was a 72-year-old retired postal worker, strong-willed, old school. One afternoon while fixing his mailbox, he felt a sudden pressure in his chest. Not sharp, but heavy. He thought it was just from bending over too long. So he stood up, stretched, and told himself it would go away. His wife noticed the sweat forming on his brow, even though it was a cool day. He brushed it off, saying, "I'm fine. Just need a minute." Then came the nausea, a wave of dizziness. Yet still, Frank refused to call 911. Instead, he asked for a glass of water and sat quietly, hoping it would pass. It didn't. By the time his wife insisted, begged really, and called for help, it was nearly half an hour later. When the paramedics arrived, Frank was in full cardiac arrest. Despite their efforts, despite the best care, the delay had been too long. Frank didn't make it. And here's the heartbreaking part: had he called for help immediately, the outcome could have been very different. That's how small the window of life and death can be when dealing with a heart attack. So I'm going to be blunt with you. If you suspect a heart attack, do not try to walk it off. Do not wait and see. Your heart is not something to negotiate with. Pick up the phone. Call 911. Sit down. Stay calm. Do not drive yourself to the hospital. The risk of losing consciousness behind the wheel is far too high. Emergency responders are trained, equipped, and faster than you think. They can begin life-saving treatment before you even reach the ER. Another dangerous myth is self-medicating. Some people think taking aspirin will fix everything. Now, while aspirin can help thin the blood and slow clotting, it is not a cure. It does not replace emergency care. You should only take it after calling 911 and following their instructions. Never let aspirin delay your decision to seek help. And please don't waste time trying to diagnose yourself. You are not supposed to figure it out in that moment. You're supposed to get help, fast. I know this sounds harsh, but I'd rather be too direct and have you alive and well than polite and watch you suffer consequences that were preventable. One final thought: make sure your family, friends, and even neighbors know these steps too. Because sometimes it won't be you making the call. Sometimes you might be the one who notices the signs in someone else. Dear friends, your heart has been working tirelessly for 60, 70, even 80 years, quietly, faithfully, without asking for much. Don't wait until it cries out in distress to start paying attention. Not every chest pain is dangerous, but the real danger is thinking, "I'm fine, it's nothing," until the moment it's too late. Protecting your heart is not just about avoiding illness. It's about preserving every precious heartbeat that carries you through life. If this video has helped you understand your health a little better, please subscribe to Doctor for Seniors. Share this with your family, your friends. You never know, a simple reminder today might be the reason someone gets a second chance tomorrow. Remember, your health is your greatest wealth.